Welcome to this edition of Function Bites, looking at some different ways to explain rules in English. In this video, we'll look at phrases to talk about strong and weak obligation or necessity, and phrases we can use when there is no obligation or necessity to do something. We'll also look at phrases for strong and weak prohibition. Of course, should and ought to are often used to give advice, but they can also be used with a meaning of weak obligation and in the negative to talk about prohibition. Later, we'll also look at different phrases for when we have permission to do something and when we don't have permission to do something. Are prohibition and no permission the same? For prohibition and where there is no permission, you cannot do what you want. But there is a difference. Let's look at the dictionary meaning. Prohibition, the act of officially not allowing something. Permission, if you have permission, you are allowed to do something. Therefore, no permission must mean you are not allowed to do something. So the difference is this: prohibition is usually official. There is usually a rule or a regulation that tells you that it's not allowed. Compare these two examples. In both pictures, someone is not allowed to do something. But which is prohibition and which is no permission? You cannot play with your tablet now. You mustn't park here. In the first picture, the child's mother isn't giving permission. In the second picture, it's official. There is a rule that we all must follow. Let's have a look at obligation and necessity, with strong and weak forms. I must finish this chapter before class tomorrow. We have to stop here. She needs to go to check-in desk 1. All staff are required to sign in with their ID card. Note that must and have to are slightly different from each other. I must buy some eggs. I have to buy some eggs. Must is usually used for personal obligation. Have to is usually used for rules. Perhaps here my wife told me I need to do it. And now weak obligation. We are supposed to, we should, we ought to finish the homework by Monday. Here are some examples of the phrases we can use when there is no obligation or necessity to do something. It's a national holiday today. This lady is happy. She doesn't have to, she doesn't need to, she needn't, she is not required to study today. Of course, if she wants to study, she can, but it is not a problem if she does not. And now prohibition. Do these and your teacher will be really angry. We mustn't chew gum in class. We mustn't cheat. We mustn't use cell phones. These are examples of strong prohibition. And here's some examples of weaker prohibition. If you do these, the teacher won't like it, but he won't be too angry. But you still shouldn't do it. We are not supposed to, we shouldn't, we ought not to drink coffee in the classroom. Here are some examples of the past forms we can use for these. With obligation and necessity, as a child, I had to eat all my vegetables. I was not supposed to eat a lot of cakes, but I did. And for no obligation or necessity. In my last job, we didn't need to go into the office. We could work from home. Here are some examples explaining rules that let us do something where we have permission. You can, you may, or you are allowed to park here for 2 hours. And now no permission. He cannot, he may not, he is not allowed to go home now. And here are some examples of how we can talk about permission and no permission in the past tense. Permission. People could smoke in bars until the law changed. I was allowed to swim in this lake when I was a child. And no permission. We were not allowed to enter the country until we had paid for the visa. When I was a child, we couldn't watch TV after 8 p.m. What about future forms? The following structures can be used, usually with will, to talk about future rules. Be allowed to, be required to, have to, and need to. Here are some examples. I'll be allowed to drive when I pass my test. My dad will let me do it. If the law changes, smoking in public places will not be allowed. We will be required to show our passports when we get to the border. She will have to study hard for the final exams next month. In this video, we have looked at different ways to explain rules for situations with strong and weak obligation, necessity, and prohibition, and also where there is no obligation or necessity to do something. We've looked at examples where there is permission and where there is no permission, and also examples of past forms and future forms. Have a great day.